pitch in Kansas City, and for that we get you out to Kauffman Stadium and the guys calling today's game, Matt Vasgersian and John Smoltz.
Well, Ryan, 30 years after what was called the Show Me Series in the 1985 Fall Classic, the Cardinals and Royals meet again this weekend with the best two records in all of baseball. Last night's opening salvo went to Kansas City, led by a pair of Kendrys Morales home runs. The Royals scored a 5-0 shutout win. Baseball Night in America welcomes you to the heartland of America, Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, as the St. Louis Cardinals battle the Kansas City Royals. Welcome and a happy Memorial Day weekend to you with Hall of Famer John Smoltz, Matt Vasgersian. A big weekend series here in Kansas City for so many reasons. Regional rivals, both teams in first place, both teams playing well. Let's start with the Royals, winners last night. They're trying to extend a 4-game winning streak today and are off to the best 41-game start in franchise history.
And that's big because last year was kind of a fluke, right? They caught America by storm. They went into the World Series and almost pulled off the unbelievable. Everyone knows about their bullpen. Everyone knows about their speed, but it's their average, their offense that's carrying this year, and they got a chip on their shoulder, and they're going to prove why last year was not a fluke.
Let's talk about the Cardinals. They haven't scored a run since Wednesday. They've been shut out in 22 straight innings. They're without Adam Wainwright for the rest of the season due to injury. Yet nobody's worried because they've got the best record in the National League.
Their pedigree is just win, baby, and they prepare their young players, whether it's a superstar or a rookie, on how to win, and they're doing it this year with their starters. Look, they've lost Adam Wainwright, but they haven't lost their sense to pitch, and their best in the ERA is starters, and their relievers are second only to the Royals, so this is one of the things they know how to do. They know how to win.
It's been 30 years since these two teams have been among baseball's elite at the same time. That 1985 season had lots of drama and magic for both, and we all remember well how it ended. They're separated by 240 miles. The I-70 rivalry is back. Tonight we watch some of the game's biggest stars of today in what could be a World Series preview for tomorrow. Baseball Night in America is next. Welcome back to Kansas City with John Smoltz and John Paul Morosi, Matt Vasgersian. Edinson Volquez getting ready to begin his night in his 9th assignment of the year. He'll face a Cardinals starting lineup that looks like this for Mike Matheny. The left-handed batters, Colton Wong and Matt Carpenter, lead things off. 6-time All-Star Matt Holliday bats in the 3 spot. Johnny Peralta has been among the most productive shortstops in baseball. He'll bat cleanup tonight. Randall Grichuk, Matt Adams, and Yadi Molina 5 through 7. Mark Reynolds will DH in this American League house, and the center fielder Peter Borges bats number 9. It is the 31-year-old right-hander Edinson Volquez on the mound, looking to push his record over 500 tonight.
Yeah, he's having a nice start. The Royals trying to cash in on his last year, having a real good year. Sky was the limit for this guy when he was younger, and he's just starting to get into his own groove and feel like he's ready.
Ready for baseball on this Memorial Day weekend. Saturday, first pitch to Colton Wong is in for strike 1. Edinson Volquez's last assignment was his best among the 8 he's had as a Kansas City Royal. 7 shutout innings here against the New York Yankees on Sunday, and he opened the great majority of what turned into a 6-0 Kansas City win. A big swing and a miss puts Wong behind 1 and 2.
A little bit of a Pedro Martinez type project growing up, and obviously idolizing fastball sinker right there at 94 with a lot of movement, knuckle curveball, and a changeup.
Still ball and 2 strikes to Colton Wong. It was a 2-year deal that brought Edinson Volquez in via free agency this year, trying to put back some of the innings lost with James Shields' departure to San Diego. And things could not have worked out any better for the Kansas City Royals. They get Volquez at roughly 1/3 of the price that Shields ended up garnering on the free agent market. They get a guy with numbers that are comparable, if not marginally better, than what James Shields has done to start his Padre career. And it's a part of a first-place dynamic that, as we mentioned, for Ned Yost, has this team off to its best ever 41-game start.
Well, he got on a great run, did Volquez, at the end of the year last year for the Pirates, arguably one of their hottest pitchers. And of course, he got a chance to pitch in the 1-game playoff against Madison Bumgarner, and we all know how that turned out for the Giants, who ended up playing these Royals. So now he's here trying to get the Royals back to the same place.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Colton Wong, and a bouncing ball out to second for Omar Infante. The first out of the night is in the books. And for Edinson Volquez and John Lackey, his opposite number tonight, they would like to get this in as quickly as possible because Mother Nature is threatening 70% humidity on a very pleasant night, but one that promises to get a little wet as it wears on.
And, you know, having been in this situation many times, it won't affect them in the first couple innings, but whoever has the lead and gets closer to 5 innings, and the word that comes down, hey, we got to get this in because of the weather, watch the tempo change if that scenario occurs.
There's Matt Carpenter now. Well, both of these lineups, and there are so many similarities, John. Neither one of these lineups is a feast or famine strike and walk out bunch. The Royals are among the hardest to strike out or walk. Same set of many of the St. Louis Cardinals. There's a shot out the other way for Alex Gordon. The 4-time Gold Glover has to move under it to put it away.
Yeah, you're right. There's not a ton of power in these lineups either, but they hit the gaps. They run the bases well. They know how to play the game. And especially for the Royals, you saw in the Open where they rank in their offensive categories. 25th in homers, but 2nd in slugging, which means they're hitting a lot of doubles and triples and taking the extra base.
2 out, bases empty now for Matt Holliday, a 6-time All-Star who has enjoyed substantial previous success against Edinson Volquez.
You see the numbers right there. Matt likes the ball coming into him and down. Up is a little bit of an issue, but down he will make a pitcher pay.
Matt Holliday has been so consistent this year. I'd say the same of his entire Cardinals career, even dating back to his Rockies days. But he has been on base in every one of the Cardinals games this season. Little chopper to second, another chance for Infante. And an all business 1-2-3 start to the night for Edinson Volquez. To the bottom of the first, John Lackey set to begin his night. Tonight, an example of it. 1-2-3 first, as his Royals are ready to take swings against John Lackey. This is how Ned Yost lines up the reigning American League champs. Alcides Escobar, Mike Moustakas, and Lorenzo Cain off the top. Eric Hosmer having an MVP caliber year in the cleanup spot. Henrys Morales, the American League's RBI leader, bats number 5. All-Stars Alex Gordon, Sal Perez, 6 and 7. Omar Infante and Gerard Dyson round things out against the 36-year-old veteran right-hander John Lackey.
Yeah, John Lackey would like to have a little more success on the road.
First pitch swinging is Alcides Escobar. He sends a fly ball out to left center. That's where Peter Borges calls off Matt Holliday.
He hasn't won on the road in a while. He's going to have a fastball command with sinker, four-seam, about 91 and above, curveball, and his cutter slash slider. His slider's real good. And the road, though, has not been kind to him this year, and he has his interleague since 2009. He has not had success in the win column. 0-7. I know interleague is something that happens every day, so sooner or later it's no longer going to be interleague, Matt.
Yeah, those stats get less and less interesting, I think, as time passes. Here's Mike Moustakas now with one away. Moustakas rejuvenated. A turnaround for him that began late last year. There's a ball he'll take the other way into the opposite corner. Extra bases for the Moose.
This is the reason why. His ability to hit the ball the other way, to stay back. The shift was killing him last year. He struggled with his average. He made it a point to go into spring training and not let the shift beat him. The hits by direction already eclipsing last season. 24 to left, and he's got time for center and right. He'll eclipse both those. But he has made what Ned Yost calls the most improbable one-year change that he's ever seen a player make, and saying that I am going to make the shift, not become the shift anymore.
An early RBI opportunity now for Lorenzo Cain, who was 2 for 4 in the opener yesterday, scoring a couple of runs. He takes a strike. I think the Mike Moustakas story, John, and his turnaround that began late last year and extended all the way through the fall and now into 2015, is the perfect little slice of defining the Kansas City Royals. A team for whom it all came together last year. The expectations, the talent, the top draft choices, Take a look at the first 4 seasons in Mike Moustakas' career. And remember, last year at this time, he was on the verge of a AAA demotion because he was hitting 152. This year, a completely different player. Nothing in 2, the count to Lorenzo Cain.
To me, it's amazing how many things have changed, and you're right about the story. Look, the stadium looks better. The hats come out of the closet. Everything seems great when you've experienced something that nobody expected, and then you follow it up. I think the greatest start for them was going 7-0. Everybody, most people had this team predicted well under 500, no chance to win the division or compete again, and all they've done is come out of spring training and become the best team in the American League.
And Cain commits on 2 strikes and ends up striking out. 2 away with a runner at second. Time for us to check the keys to the game, sponsored by the Lincoln Motor Company.
Yeah, for St. Louis, get them on, get them in. They haven't been doing that lately at the get them in part. They got a lot of guys on yesterday, 13 of them stranded. And for Kansas City, they're pretty good. Both these teams are good when they score first, but put the pressure on if you're KC. Score first, continue that mojo you've had since the beginning of the season. And they're winning a lot of games handily, blowout fashions.
Here's Eric Hosmer now. 2-out RBI opportunity for him. This is one of the elements of the game that really jumps out at you from the stat sheet. How good the Royals have been as a team, and Hosmer's a big part of this with runners in scoring position. And in this particular spot with 2 out, Hosmer's a .350 hitter with runners in scoring position. Chopper to the right side of the infield, and Lackey, with some help from Colton Wong after a hesitation, will strand that 1-out double to the second. No score at Kauffman Stadium. Covered event right now. Get exceptional limited time offers. Hey, it's time to vote for your All-Stars with the 2015 Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot for the 2015 All-Star Game. Vote at MLB.com/vote and catch all the excitement of the 86th annual All-Star Game July 14th on Fox. Johnny Peralta, Randall Grichuk, and Matt Adams in the visitors' half of the second, early in a scoreless tie in Kansas City. Johnny Peralta, a 2-time All-Star himself and likely headed to Cincinnati this year. Robust offensive numbers for him. 6 home runs, a .295 average, at or near the top of that kind of productivity for all major league shortstops. He gets a hold of one here and sends it into the corner in left. It checks up in front of Alex Gordon, and it's a leadoff 2-base hit for Johnny Peralta.
Does a nice job on a breaking ball that doesn't go away from him, but actually hangs in the middle of the plate. And lucky that Volquez was able to keep that ball in the ballpark for a double. But Johnny Peralta, second only in shortstops to home runs last year, 27.
So a chance now for the young right fielder Randal Grichuk to plate a run. A home run, 6 driven in for Grichuk, who is seeing extended playing time these days due to a couple of reasons. The injury to John Jay among them, and the fact that Grichuk has developed into one of the more reliable right-handed hitters that Mike Matheny has to choose from in what's become a very crowded outfield dynamic. And he's been hot, as you can see. Jason Hayward getting a blow tonight. A ball and a strike from Volquez.
Well, the Cardinals do all the little things you have to do, and they haven't done it of late because they haven't scored some runs. But in a traditional National League game, you probably work real hard to get this runner over to third. But being in the American League city and pitcher doesn't have to hit, you can play more for a big inning.
Ball and 2 strikes to the St. Louis right fielder. Randal Grichuk, a former first rounder, 24th overall back in 2009. And as Mike Matheny told us before the game, they're still trying to figure out what they've got here. They love the tools, they love the makeup, but he's just playing in his 61st big league game tonight. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
I also like his power, his ability to, as Mike Matheny said, miss hit balls and still get them over the fence. Something natural, something unique that he has that not a lot of people have.
Matt Adams waiting on deck. Powerful left-handed hitter next. 2 balls and 2 strikes after the leadoff double here in the second. The Cardinals have gotten a lot of credit, and deservedly so, for replenishing the equation from within. And draft picks, homegrown products like Grichuk, like the guy on deck, Matt Adams, like Yadi Molina behind him. A part of a majority homegrown roster. Something that the Cardinals are particularly proud of, and something that is, quite frankly, the envy of a lot of other major league cities. And it's a full count now to Grichuk.
Tell you what, that's an outstanding pitch after going in twice in a row. He paints the outside corner, but did not get the strike 3 call. See if they go back inside.
Full count to Randal Grichuk, and the payoff pitch misses down and in. Not a lot for a big capacity crowd to get overly excited about yet, but it's worth noting as we say hello to the third member of our broadcast crew, John Paul Morosi, that there have been a couple of back-to-back crowds here, JP, that reflect the magnitude of this series here in this part of the country.
Yeah, Matt, overall a 10,000 fan increase per game the Royals have had since, of course, their World Series season last year. That is the largest year-over-year increase for a World Series participant since John Smoltz's Atlanta Braves back in 1992.
Ah, how about that? There are a lot of comps between the 92-93 Braves and last year's and this year's Royals. Trying to get back to a World Series is among the comps. Take a look at the raw numbers there. The attendance bump. Twins coming off a brilliant 87 World Series championship. They saw a boon, so did your Braves, and these Royals following suit. A A swing and a miss by Matt Adams, 1-1.
Well, and Ned being part of both of them, when you think about it, Ned was with the Braves, and when you surprise your city and you surprise people around sports, that all of a sudden the Atlanta Braves hats started looking better. The Kansas City Royals hats start looking better. It's that long drought, and then maybe we're back and maybe we can sustain some success. Everything looks better when you win, even though they didn't win it all.
2 balls and a strike. The Cardinals with a golden opportunity here, John, to erase that streak we spoke of when we went on the air, including the first inning tonight. 23 consecutive innings without having scored a run. A lot of that has been the inability to cash in with runners in scoring position. And it's now 3 balls and a strike to Matt Adams. Mike Matheny didn't try to pass the buck and put any blame on anybody, but he did make a very fair point. The Cardinals have run into some really tough starting pitching the last week plus. You got to face DeGrom and Harvey in New York. They played the Cleveland Indians, where they got Bauer, Carrasco, and Kluber.
That Kluber game was unbelievable. 18 strikeouts against a Cardinal team that is pretty good at the plate at putting the ball in play.
They had that guy, Big Chris Young, last night. He kept him off balance for 6 innings with that stealth fastball. Here's the payoff from Volquez. Ball 4 to Adams. A double and back-to-back walks. Royals not liking Trip Gibson's home plate umpire strike zone.
Oh my goodness. You usually don't get the benefit right here. I guess it's low. Right over the middle of the plate. 3-2 pitch, real close. Hard to lay off, but he got the call and got rewarded with a walk. It's a good trip to the mound right here. You know, Salvador Perez and his counterpart Molina, you can see right there going, that pitch has got to be a strike. The 2-2 pitch or that pitch, one of the two's got to be a strike, is what he's saying. So now you just got to reset and refocus and try to find a way to get a ground ball, pop up or something, much like Mr. Young was able to wiggle out of his troubles yesterday.
So a couple of walks, part of the bases loaded, nobody out equation facing Edinson Volquez here in the second, as he'll go to work on the catcher Yadier Molina. 6-time All-Star, batting a tick over 300. No home runs for Yadi. He is in fact in the midst of his longest career home run drought. Bases loaded, nobody out for him here in the second. On the ground, it checks up on Moustakas. He knocks it down. It scores a run. They get Molina at first. 1-0 Cardinals. And now they're saying, was that ball foul?
No, they're just checking on
No, they're
Moustakas.
checking on Moustakas. Time was taken in the infield.
That's exactly what you wanted. A bad hop right here, or he's probably turned to double play. Hits him right in the neck. But he stays with it and knows that Molina doesn't have a lot of speed and can stay away from a bigger inning by getting one out. But that ball, I'm sure, did not feel real good in his neck. You can see where it's already left a mark.
A run in second and third with one gone now for the DH tonight, Mark Reynolds. So the Cardinals put to bed a consecutive shutout streak, shutout innings by its lineup, that is. And I guess Redbird historians can stop thinking about the last time the Cardinals were shut out over 3 straight games. You'd have to go back, by the way, to 1976 to find that. One to Reynolds is popped up. Omar Infante making the call and making the out. You know, the other side of that run coming across to score, John, is that it's the first allowed by a Royals starter in quite some time.
Yeah, they've been on a nice roll. It's a team that struggled a little bit with their starters at one stretch after the 7-0 start. But right now you see those numbers, 26 straight innings coming into tonight. That's a big out right there. That's a big pop up early in the game. We talked about weather coming in. And now he's got a chance to wiggle his way out of a bases loaded, nobody out, and only surrender 1 run. That would be a great job for Volquez.
Here is the speedy center fielder, Peter Borges. Yeah, 27 consecutive innings. That Royals starting pitching had not allowed a run as the crowd reacts to a clap of lightning. Or is it a bolt of lightning? Then a clap of thunder.
There you go. You anticipated. I'm not kidding you. I saw it. It looked like a horseshoe. It wasn't no straight. It was what little hair I got on my head stood up. That's what I felt.
A fly ball out to right. And Volquez does get out of the jam with minimal damage. Bases loaded, nobody out. St. Louis settles with 1 in the second. With John Smoltz and J.P. Morosi, Matt Vasgersian, amidst a light rain that most of this heavily attended crowd has come prepared for tonight. Kendrys Morales leads things off in the home second. 1-0 Cardinals early on tonight. Morales, Gordon, and Perez. Morales, the hero yesterday. All 5 RBIs on not 1 but 2 home runs, and he stays hot tonight. A leadoff single for the switch-hitting DH.
Well documented last year, and starting late, finishing up, 2 different teams, and then this year having the blessing of spring training has certainly made a difference in his start to the Royals, and they desperately needed it because they lost one of their greats, Billy Butler, who went to the Oakland A's.
Leadoff hitter aboard now for the 2-time All-Star Alex Gordon. And I guess that was a part of the lowered expectations, John, that you talked about amongst the national media in regards to where the Royals would fall this year. I think there was so much discussion about losing James Shields, losing Billy Butler. Not many anticipated Edinson Volquez and Kendrys Morales not only filling those voids, but exceeding the levels that were set by those 2 players last year. Alex Gordon with a swing and a drive to right. That ball is well hit and gone. of the year for the senior Royal.
If you don't think this game is a big percentage of it mental and confidence, you are watching a young team playing off the confidence that they had last year and believing that they can continue to do the things they need to do. Young players living up to those high expectations they had early in their careers.
It had been quite a while since John Lackey was last touched up for a home run ball, as Sal Perez sends a comebacker to him. Over to Matt Adams for the first out. Take a look at the long ball again.
Well, this ball's outer half of the plate, and he reaches out. Perfect swing, good timing, stays behind it. He knows as soon as he releases the bat where that ball's going. Just better hitting. Wasn't exactly a terrible pitch.
Here's Omar Infante now with one out. And did I see a guy without a glove catch that right next to a guy that brought the glove to the ballpark?
Tell you what, there's been some great barehanded catches this year on some home runs.
On the ground to Peralta for round number 2. Might be worth looking back at that. Oh yeah, a guy with the glove whiffed it.
Looked like the guy in the back was screened too. How about the catch that the fan made? I think it was in Arizona off of Stanton. Barehanded in the upper deck, hit it like 470 feet, and he just there was nothing.
Yeah, you get out of the way of those if you're most of us. Here's Gerard Dyson now with 2 away. We mentioned the home run being allowed by John Lackey. It's the first he's yielded since his first start of the season. And a stretch of almost 50 innings between home run balls.
I look at these stats every once in a while just to determine. I don't even know what I'm determining, but when John Lackey's team is ahead and he's pitching, his ERA is 7.53, which is staggering because it usually would go the other way. When he's behind, his ERA is 1.04. So he's had the lead in 14 of his innings starting this year with a 322 average hitting against him. I would say that number's got to change a little bit over the course of the year. It's got to even out. But usually when your team's ahead, it's a little easier to pitch.
Yeah. He's pretty interesting to carve up statistically, too, because you talked about the great home and road discrepancy this year. It really rings true of his brief tenure as a Cardinal, dating back to the trade that brought him to St. Louis. As a Cardinal, he has a dramatic discrepancy between what he does at home at Busch Stadium, where he appears to be very comfortable, and what happens to him when he goes out on the road. I know a lot of guys try to discount those differences, but it's hard to avoid it.
Yeah.
Dyson shatters his bat on a little pop to second that Wong runs down. And that'll do her in the second. Not before Alex Gordon can make a mark tonight. His 5th of the year puts Kansas City up 2-1. Top of the Cardinals order in the top of the third. Colton Wong leads things off against Edinson Volquez. 2-1 Kansas City. The difference tonight, a 2-run home run by Alex Gordon last half inning. Wong, Carpenter, and Holiday for St. Louis. We were talking earlier tonight about the offseason addition of Edinson Volquez to the Kansas City rotation. 2-year contract worth $20 million. And gauging that by the enormous deals that were signed elsewhere this offseason, it's in the early stages, at least, of looking like the deal of the century.
No doubt. I mean, there's definitely signs on every pitcher that you worry about, whether it's mechanics, I mean, he drops his arm, control issues that he's had before, and everyone's trying to figure out, when do they have that breakthrough? Was it last year, and can I cash in on it? And I think for Volquez and all the expectation that he had on him put on early, and his lack of ability to deal with it early, he's now maybe coming into his own and can help Kansas City in their pitching staff.
Pop into shallow center for Lorenzo Cain. Well, I'd say that it's easy to fit in to a team as loose as the Kansas City Royals. So when you come aboard via free agency like Edinson Volquez, you're going to find yourself in the midst of this kind of group. A young team, many of whom rose through the ranks of the minor leagues together. By all accounts, they not only play well together, but they like each other, which isn't always the case.
Well, and again, winning helps that. I mean, you get criticized if you're not winning and you're loose and it looks like you don't care. But when you win, everything ties together. There's nothing greater in sports than when you come together and do something nobody expects. Look, I asked Ned Yost, what changed in spring training? Did you have to remind them that people weren't picking you, that the team was just a fluke last year? He said, no, they all came ready. They were all prepared. They all had that built-in chip on their shoulder, and they started in spring training and dominated.
Nothing in 2, the count to Matt Carpenter. It's a young nucleus that is, for the most part, tied up together contractually for a while. Same can be said of the Cardinals, who've been put together with such masterful strokes by their front office. The one thing hanging in Kansas City, and not to get too far ahead of ourselves, the guy that hit the 2-run home run, he's got an expiration date coming up at the end of this year. A ball and 2 strikes to Matt Carpenter. That one out to center field. Lorenzo Cain has been busy to start tonight. JP, it's a crowded group of potential free agent outfielders for the 2016 season, and Alex Gordon is he's going to get plenty of attention everywhere.
Yes, Matt, and Gordon does have a player option for 2016. He has not said one way or the other whether he will pick it up, but obviously he has gone this deep into the season. One supposes he'll probably decline it and see what's waiting out there for him on the open market, but he has spoken very warmly of Kansas City. Matt, he's from Nebraska, so this really has become his second home.
You could understand his reluctance to commit to that to anybody. As far as will you pick up the option now, I'm sure he wants to see how the rest of this year plays out. There's a strike to Matt Holliday. But it's an interesting group next year. Jose Bautista has an option. He may or may not be returning to Toronto. Yoenis Cespedes will be out there next year. Jason Hayward of the Cardinals is in a contract year. Torrey Hunter might decide to play another season. Why not? He's off to such a great start. Austin Jackson in Seattle. A ball and 2 strikes rather to Matt Holliday.
So many twists and turns within a baseball game, and last inning was one of them. Bases loaded, nobody out, only 1 run scored for the Cardinals. Royals come back, hit a 2-run homer, and they've got the lead. You give up 2, 3, 4 runs in that inning, everything can change. Sometimes the momentum of your pitcher getting out of a jam helps out your offense the next inning. And he seems to be in a much better groove, even though it's raining. The grip of the baseball and your footing, you just watch the mound as time goes on, as the rain falls.
And a swing and a miss. A 1-2-3 third after his team gets him a lead. Volquez shuts down the Cardinals in the third. Alcides Escobar, Mike Moustakas, and Lorenzo Cain top of the order against John Lackey in the third, with the Royals on top a run. Escobar flew out to start the ball game, start the home half of the first, that is. He'll whack that one into the left field corner, and a foul ball. You might ask the question, and for a guy like Alcides Escobar, he's 3 for his last 23. He's a better offensive player than those numbers would indicate. But he could stay 3 for 23 and sleepy all season at the plate if he keeps turning in defensive work like he did last night.
Yeah, this guy can do a lot of athletic things that most shortstops would dream of. He can cover a lot of ground, and then he can make plays like this almost seem routine. That's a ball on the ground, almost no look flip to second. Tip of the hat, I would too. Nice job.
He's been durable as well, as that number indicates. Most starts at shortstop over the last number of years. A swing and a miss from him here, 1 and 2. Bouncing ball for Colton Wong. He makes a good play to his right. There's one away. That'll bring back Mike Moustakas, who doubled in the first. And we talked a lot last at bat about how different he looks on the stat sheet. Here's how different he looks on screen.
Yeah, mechanically he's made an adjustment with his hands. He's in a much more balanced position, and he can let the ball travel. You see his hands starting up high. He's more relaxed. He gets them similar to the position ready to hit, but when he puts his foot down, he's in a better athletic position to hit, and more importantly, he can let the ball travel, which means he can go to all parts of the field. As a hitter, if you're notoriously a pull hitter, and that's why they shift you, by the way, it's because you're pulling your front shoulder out. You're looking to pull and actually drive the ball to one side of the field, eliminating the other side. The perfect example right here, he's able to take a breaking ball or off-speed ball and hit it the other way, something he couldn't do very well last year. You see all the room that's over there, and he has single-handedly made the shift on him become not as apparent as last year. 220 hitter, and I maintain, and it's up to the hitters. I think we've reached the height, and I don't think there's going to be any more shifts, numbers going up after this year. I think they're all going to go down.
It's capped itself.
I think it has to, because hitters said enough. I mean, that is somewhat of a shift, but it was well different last year. They didn't have anybody.
Yeah, they're not playing him in an overload the way we see opponents, say, against Brian McCann of the Yankees or others. That's slapped towards the opposite field. Carpenter was in the right spot, and there are 2 gone.
And all that's going to do is just help out hitters. I mean, I maintain, and again, with the exceptions of Big Papi and the prototypical guys that you want him to hit over the fence, and anything they hit on the ground is an out anyways, every hitter can do it. You just got to sacrifice your pride and know that you're going to get some hits. He's laid down a bunt. He's hit the ball the other way. We've already shown the spray chart on that. Guys just get caught up, and organizations letting them do it.
Lorenzo Cain takes strike 1. Well, we certainly don't talk about it as much this year as we did last season. Maybe we're getting more used to it. You know, the eyeball test. 0-2 to Cain. Lorenzo is Lackey's only strikeout victim, first time through the order. And Lackey's got him 0-2 here. And he finishes him with a fastball looking. A 1-2-3 third for the big right-hander. Still 2-1 Royals. From Warner Brothers Pictures. See the movie in theaters June 3rd. And by Vanda Pharmaceuticals. Still 2-1 Kansas City. Still a light rain falling at Kauffman Stadium. As the middle of the Cardinals order aims at Edinson Volquez, Johnny Peralta, Randall Grichuk, and Matt Adams here in the fourth. Peralta doubled and scored the lone Redbird run in the second. Cardinals had the bases loaded against Edinson Volquez with nobody out and had to settle for that one run.
You can see a good view right there of Edinson Volquez as he goes about his delivery. He has to gather because his arm drops down, and then every once in a while gets underneath, but you see that little drop down, gather, and then throw. And that's the mechanism of which he has to have great timing to throw the ball in, out, up, and down. You don't want to get underneath. You don't want to get out in front of yourself. And he's been able to make already a couple in-game adjustments to correct some things.
Sharply hit to short. Another fine play by Escobar on a hop. They get their man. Alcides Escobar picking up right where he left off defensively a night ago when he made a pair of highlight reel plays.
Well, this is such a good play. Not only does he get to the ball, but he doesn't panic and try to get the ball in the air. He knows the ball is going to be a little wet. It's been raining. He just takes his time, one hops it, which I think is the most unutilized play for shortstops, and makes a great play and helps out his pitcher.
Find it ironic when that play gets a Cardinal out. Ozzie Smith, after all, having perfected it many years ago in St. Louis. Here's Randall Grichuk now, and he picks on the first pitch and grounds to third for Moustakas. With 2 out in the fourth and nobody aboard, JP had a chance to visit between innings with Royal skipper Ned Yost.
Ned, we talked about Alex Gordon's power coming off the wrist surgery. How good of a sign was that swing?
Yeah, that's a good sign. You know, he's feeling better and better, feeling stronger and stronger. It still bothers him a little bit, but he's in that training room every day making sure that it doesn't get out of hand, and he's doing a really nice job with it.
How impressed were you with the way Volquez settled in? He gets out of that bases loaded jam, just 1 out. How impressed have you been with him since then?
Well, he's done a really nice job, and you know, some of those pitches right there might have been strikes. I don't know, but Volquez did a great job of limiting the damage and just getting out of it with 1 run.
Thanks, Ned.
You know what's been impressive about Volquez, and not just tonight, John. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's been doing this for a while. Edinson Volquez is 31. A couple of years ago, if you had watched him in 2013, say, when he split his season between the Padres and the Dodgers, it looked like his best years may have been behind him. The Pirates rolled the dice. They got 13 wins and a 3.04 ERA out of him. It was said that Ray Searage was the guy, the Pirates' very fine pitching coach, that really got to him and turned him around to become the guy he is today. But this all happened after he'd been in the big leagues for 10 years.
Yeah, they simplified a couple things, got him to throw more strikes, attack the zone with his stuff, mechanically quieted some things down, and you're right. He's doing things now that you would have thought may have been able to do earlier in his career when he might have had better stuff and better arsenal. But to each their own and how they learn, and this guy now is, like I said last year, had a real great stretch run.
Since loading the bases, he's thrown first pitch strikes to 8 of the next 9 hitters he's faced, and is now 2 balls and 2 strikes on Matt Adams.
Matt Adams had made some people change in the shift, and you could see that the Royals have only one side of the left field covered with the shortstop. He has made people last year. He bunted the ball a couple times and hit the ball the other side. He's struggling a little bit offensively. Some of those at bats going to Reynolds. But he too has made a conscious effort to eliminate the shift.
Two-2 pitch and a full count now to Adams, 3-2. The base on balls had been a big problem for Edinson Volquez, and that's what made his last start against the Yankees so special. Without walking a batter going 7 innings, it was just the 8th time in 193 career starts that Volquez didn't walk anybody. trying to avoid a third walk tonight. Here he is on 3-2. And they'll try it again, full count.
Well, not only does that get your pitch count up, it gets you in trouble, and those are the things that mentioned. Command of his fastball with the way that he throws. If the timing is not right, he gets underneath. And if you get underneath, it's not going to be a good pitch. And you're not going to be able to hit your location. But he's developed a good breaking ball and a really outstanding changeup. So if his fastball commands on, he's going to be tough on the opposing hitters.
The next 3-2 offering to Adams. Misses for ball 4. Third walk of the night by Volquez.
I will say the 2 previous walks were run really, really close pitches that could have gone either way. So that's the first one where he missed badly.
So now Yadi Molina, who shares a word with Sal Perez before they get to work. Right there on your screen, 2 of the most durable catchers in baseball. And 2 of the best. And I would guess, John, that those are 2 guys likely headed back to an all-star game.
No doubt. If they stay healthy, they have done things. Not only can they shut down the running game, but they both have had stretches of offensive success. Yachty really taken off since Albert Pujols left for the Angels.
I feel like you could fill out like 40% of the all-star rosters between Cardinals and Royals this year. And why not? I mean, you got the 2 best records in baseball, a couple of first-place teams. There are handfuls of all-stars in both infields, on both pitching staffs. To Molina, sent to center field. Lorenzo Cain is back there shy of the wall to retire the side. Alcides Escobar continues to shine defensively in a 2-1 Kansas City lead. Fourth, 2-1 Royals. Cardinals got on the board first tonight, and then a 2-run home run by Alex Gordon gave the Royals the lead in the second. Hosmer aggressively hacking at the first pitch into the opposite field. That one bangs against the base of the wall. A leadoff double for Eric Hosmer in the fourth.
Now this will take his average well over 340 against right-handers. You see how he lets the ball travel, doesn't try to do too much. His team approach to hitting makes them awfully scary. Last year they didn't have quite this offense. They struggled at times to score. Everyone knows how good their bullpen is, how they shorten the game, but if they can score some runs and take some pressure off the pitching, watch out in the American League Central and watch out in the American League.
Here's Kendrys Morales now. He singled and scored back in the second in front of the Gordon home run. That leadoff double by Eric Hosmer could be seen perhaps as the beginnings of snapping out of a 4 for 23. Really the first lull he'd been in this year. Another guy likely headed to Cincinnati for the All-Star game in a month and a half. Morales lifts a fly ball into the opposite field for Matt Holliday. Tagging and advancing is Hosmer.
The wind was blowing that ball a little deeper than Matt Holliday expected. Matt doesn't have the strongest of arms, so as he's backpedaling, Hosmer takes advantage of it. He's not in position to really absolutely come forward. Long strides and sliding to third, gets the runner at third with less than 2 outs, which is always what you want, and increasing your chances to score.
So now Alex Gordon. Again, the home run back in the second is 5th of the year. Cardinals bring the infield in with 1 away and a runner at third.
One thing I've never understood about stats, you could bunt the baseball and get a sacrifice and move a runner from second to third. But if you have a fly ball and move them from second to third, it's a nice job hanging with them, but your average goes down.
I've actually asked that question before. And the answer that I've gotten is that it's about intent. That the intent is clear when you're bunting, that you're trying to move the runner. The intent isn't as clear. Hit the fly ball, you might not have been trying to advance the runner so much. I know it's a little thin because I agree with you. I think you should get credit for that as well. Yadi Molina comes out to chat with John Lackey here after a 2-0 count starts the Gordon at bat. There's concern here, falling behind a guy that Lackey has had trouble with in the past, and now the Cardinals will put him aboard intentionally.
It's interesting. I wasn't looking in the dugout to see where that came from. I wouldn't think that John Lackey would initiate that. That usually comes from the manager.
Well, let's take it back to the second. Here's a part of the reason why they decided to pass him. These new player metrics are being measured by Major League Baseball's StatCast tracking system, John.
Yeah, you see the exit velocity, pretty impressive. You see the hang time, which allows the distance to go 405 feet. Full extension when he hits the baseball. Talk about his wrist and healing that wrist and the power coming back. There's some guys in the big leagues this year that have had exit velocities well north of that.
Here's Sal Perez. Runners at the corners with 1 away. Yeah, Giancarlo Stanton has hit a couple of balls that almost broke the thing. Hardest hit home run velocity was Stanton at 114 plus miles an hour. However, the hardest hit ball this year was not a home run. Josh Donaldson hit a double that left his bat at 120 miles an hour. That one had some gas on it too. Sal Perez singles in a run. Gordon wraps around to third, and it's 3-1 Kansas City.
Kansas City Royals do a great job. You see this ball just scalded in the corner, okay? Left fielder, Matt Holliday. But what the Royals do better than anybody is advance bases on a hit. You see Gordon going to third. He's standing on third. And the reason he's standing on third is because they excel in this category. They take advantage of everything. They take the extra base. That's why they're scoring so many runs this year, minus not hitting so many home runs. Ned Yost and his well-documented team speed run the bases better than most teams in big leagues.
So now Omar Infante with a run in, one away, and runners at the corners. You know, that's getting back to your point. That's one of those ways of explaining something that you can't always use a calculator for that. It might not seem clear. But when you look at the home runs per game, the Royals rank 25th in the big leagues, near the bottom of the pack. Yet the runs per game, they are second in all of baseball at just over 5 per night. So some of those nuances, taking extra bases, things that aren't necessarily easy to measure, all a part of Kansas City's success. Lackey lost his footing on that 1-0 pitch.
Well, the ground crew came out in between innings and put some diamond dry, dry up the mound. It's been raining. Sometimes when you get your foot out there, you get a little bit of a heel set up and you slip, and that's a nightmare for a pitcher, because that's the last thing you want to be thinking about when you put your foot down, is that you're going to lose your footing, and that could be an injury. So luckily nothing happened on that pitch, but now when you go to put your foot down again, you're not so sure that you're going to have the proper footing to deliver a pitch.
Yeah, the Cardinals don't care to experience pitchers losing their footing anymore, with the big loss of Adam Wainwright while batting. John Lackey becomes such a more important person for Mike Matheny. He's the only guy in the Lackey-less rotation now that's really given them length. And he loses Omar Infante on 4 pitches, the Wainwright-less rotation, that is. Here comes the pitching coach, Derek Lilliquist, now.
Yeah, good timing, too, because Lackey's drawing with the umpire, wanting to know where it is, and the umpire's just holding his ground. Didn't see him react back to Lackey, but 3-0 pitch. He felt he threw down the middle, and it was quickly called a ball. So Derek's going to come out and try to settle down his big right-hander and make sure everything stays in focus.
You know, with weather threatening, a run in, bases loaded, 1 away. This is a big moment here for St. Louis.
3-0 count, and you expect, usually you get the benefit of the doubt no matter what the hitter's at, 3-0, and he's wanting to know right away where that pitch is. He's a very emotional guy when he pitches. He pitches with a lot of effort and emotion, and certainly wants as many pitches as a pitcher can get.
Here's Gerard Dyson now with 3 for 16 career line with the bases loaded. Had an infield pop in the second.
Well, the reason the infield's in is because the chances of doubling him up are very slim. So anything hit to the infielders are primarily going to go home and try to get the out at home. That's what his speed will do as he stands in the batter's box. The likelihood of doubling him up is very, very low.
Top of the order, Alcides Escobar next. A run in, 1 away, bases loaded in the home 4th. Little flare for Peralta, and out number 2. Ned Yost told us before the game they'd really like to get Dyson going. That makes him 0 for his last 15. That will have to wait another turn. So now it's up to Escobar.
Ned's also hoping that Alex Rios can continue his recovery and come back soon as another offseason acquisition until he broke his hand.
Ball and no strikes to Alcides Escobar. Yeah, the Royals have held up remarkably well in the absence of Alex Rios, who got off to such a dynamic start. Looked like the Alex Rios of 5-6 years ago. The Kansas City, or rather the Toronto version. And then the wrist injury. He is on track to come back, as you mentioned, John, after a 4 to 6 week recovery period. And making a robust lineup even better. 1-1.
Vargas making a couple rehab starts or getting closer to joining the rotation. I thought the Royals did some nice things that went under the radar in the offseason in some of their pickups that most people wouldn't have assumed could play into the season.
Escobar in towards right center. Grichuk closing on it to end the inning. Kansas City settles with one in the fourth. It's 3-1 Royals. Top of the fifth inning, and Kansas City has a new third baseman on the field as Christian Colon has taken over for Mike Moustakas here, and we'll get word as to exactly what ails Moustakas as we move forward with J.P. Morosi on the field. Edinson Volquez back to work now, pitching with a 2-run lead. He's got Mark Reynolds to lead things off. Reynolds, Borges, and Colton Wong. We could speculate on Moustakas after he took a ball in the neck that checked up on him defensively. But we'll wait to get official word from the clubhouse after JP's had a chance to visit with the Royals training staff.
Well, it's a big inning right here, despite the fact that it's only the fifth. But with the weather looming, a pitcher knows if he can get through this inning with the lead, despite whatever the weather might bring, the Royals are sitting in a good spot. So you try not to get anxious. You try not to get through the inning quicker. It's not really raining hard right now, but everybody's aware of what comes down the road and the weather that's supposed to be coming. So a pitcher is aware of a lot of things. Getting hitters out, sometimes the weather plays a huge part of that.
0-2 to Mark Reynolds. Right to the new guy. And Colon is there to make the catch. Well, Mike Matheny employing a little strategy in the previous half inning to intentionally walk Alex Gordon. It was a part of a bases loaded situation that John Lackey was able to minimize, and J.P. Morosi asked the Cardinal skipper about that situation between innings.
Mike, what were the key factors you decided there in the decision to walk Gordon intentionally?
We got an open base with the right-hander on deck, and Perez is a good hitter. Everybody in this lineup swinging the bat pretty good, but we like Lackey stuff. We got an opportunity to turn two, and there's a forecast that's playing into this thing as well that we realize we got to try and get as many outs as we can, not give up too many runs.
Mike, key situation there in the second inning, bases loaded, nobody out. What did you see in your guys' at-bats after that?
Yeah, that's a big opportunity. Unfortunately, we did get the one. Yachty hit the ball hard. It was a great play by Moustakas to keep it just the one out. But after that, we got to get those situational hits in. We got to get the guy in from third base. They know that, but they're going to come in bunches. Sometimes it's a little harder to come by them, and that seems to be the case tonight.
Thanks, Mike.
It's been strange that the Cardinals have not cashed in with runners in scoring position as readily as they have the past couple of years. They're sub 200 in the situations that Mike Matheny was talking about there. That's a number that's going to change. But it's hard to imagine this balanced a lineup batting 198 with runners in scoring position. That, by the way, is the lowest figure in baseball. And that hurt him in that last inning. Colton Wong with the runner aboard.
I think yesterday was more of atypical than when you're facing a Kluber or a Harvey or a DeGrom, when you're getting runners on, and understandably so. The guys are high strikeout pitchers. Why you might not be getting them in. Chris Young is typically a softer throwing guy and relies on mixing up his pitches in a ball that they don't see out of 6'11" frame.
Past Cologne into left.
Speaking of the ball they didn't see, the ball was hit pretty hard.
Back-to-back one-out singles here in the fifth.
Third base is not a fun position, especially when your pitcher leaves the ball up. You're playing in, and this ball almost is by him before he could get his glove up.
So now Matt Carpenter. That base hit from Wong extends a modest hitting streak to 7 straight games. Carpenter trying to run a streak to 4. And more importantly, cash in with a couple of runners on base here. He's got Wong at first, Borges at second. Good speed on the base paths for St. Louis. There's some of those runners in scoring position numbers we talked about. Last couple of games, 0 in that department. Oh, and 2 to Matt Carpenter. Matt Carpenter, Matt Holliday, a couple of guys who, as Major League Baseball players, remain huge college football fans. Holliday due up next. And in the case of Matt Carpenter rather, his beloved TCU Horned Frogs have paid homage to him. They'll tip their cap here. There's a ball that gets into center that gets away from Kane and scores a run.
That's a rare mix-up by Kane. This was going to be a close play at the plate, I think, even with Peter Borges' running ability. 4:29 coming into this game, runners in scoring position. He does it again, and this ball's hit so quickly that I think Kane just took his eye off the ball for a second, and not only did this base hit result in a run, perfectly executed, the runner was able to go to third base and put himself in a tying situation with less than 2 outs.
TCU Horned Frog Nation celebrating every time Matt Carpenter comes up with a base hit. Scored that as an RBI single with an error. In fact, this year they put him on a playboard.
That's pretty cool there. The Cardinals are much more glad that he got a base hit there with a runner's in scoring position. A chance to tie the game up, which they desperately need to do. given the circumstances of the looming weather. So Matt Holliday looking to extend his streak of reaching a base in every game.
Holliday extended that streak yesterday by being hit by a pitch, and it extends the same way tonight. Boy, Matt might be willing to give that streak up if he has to keep getting hit to extend it each night.
Yeah, this is a breaking ball here. They still never feel good, but this is a breaking ball that just goes and chases them. You see the ball. He couldn't even use the elbow pad. It gets him on the forearm. And by the way, his forearm is like 3 of our 1 forearms. Make your fingers and hands.
Boy, Matt wore one in the shoulder yesterday, and he's creeping up on a franchise record set by Albert Pujols of 48 consecutive games reaching base safely. Albert did it a lot in his Cardinals tenure. So the bases are loaded now with a run in and only 1 away. And I want to clean up a number that I had wrong earlier, John. The Cardinals are hitting .270 as a team with runners in scoring position. And a big opportunity in that spot here. Johnny Peralta has doubled and grounded to shortstop tonight. On the first pitch, grounded to Infante, to Escobar for 1, and the Royals get them both. Edinson Volquez allows but a run. In and out of trouble in the 5th. He keeps the lead. Roads. Use hashtag this all season long to share the amazing moments that only happen in Major League Baseball. Back with John Smoltz and John Paul Morosi. Matt Vasgersian, a 3-2 Kansas City lead as the Royals begin the 5th with their new third baseman Christian Colon leading things off. Colon came in defensively for Mike Moustakas last half inning, still waiting on word from the Kansas City clubhouse as to Moustakas' status. And Colon's even at a ball and a strike. This is the first action for Christian Colon since May 10th when he got a spot start in Detroit. He's been used all around the infield this year. That one squirts through the Cardinals infield, and Colon has a leadoff single.
It's been a frustrating game so far for the Cardinals. Actually, the first two games, they've had plenty of opportunities to score runs. And just the way the hits go down, you could see a pitcher would rather go up a bullet than something that beats the two middle infielders.
Lorenzo Cain now, a couple of strikeouts on his line, one swinging in the first, and Lackey got him looking in the third.
Cain to be a little more aggressive here this at bat.
On cue, a swing and a miss. You know, if, as Mike Matheny told JP earlier, if they want to get through this quickly to try to bear in mind the weather and give themselves a chance, they certainly have the right guy on the mound. John Lackey is a quick worker to the tune of about 14 pitches per inning, which puts him in the top 10 among National League starters. He has yielded the 3 runs on 6 hits so far tonight. Cain lays off a ball and a strike.
That pitch right there, when he's in rhythm, it's a hard slider, and it's one of those rare sliders that breaks down and quick. So obviously tough on right-handers. His fastball command has been a little bit iffy tonight, which leads to why the Royals have 3 runs.
Breaking ball catches the corner. But Lorenzo Cain really looks like he's a bit off balance with Lackey tonight.
Definitely not guessing along with the pitcher. Some nights you have those where the pitcher just seems to be one step ahead.
Cain sends a fly ball into shallow right, angling toward foul territory, and it's out of play for Colton Wong.
Based on the patterns here, and a 1-2 count, fastball that he looked like he was protecting against. See if Lackey goes right back to the hard slider away.
Going to get a game break from Ryan Field in a moment on the Angels and Red Sox. C.J. Wilson against the knuckleballer Stephen Wright for Boston at the Fens tonight. Cain sends it into the same spot. This time Randall Grichuk is able to make the catch.
Now, good pitch and a good defensive play. Slider away, and Cain was able to fight it off, and was hoping that was going to fall foul, and he lived to fight another day. But Jason Hayward usually covering that territory, one of the best right fielders in the game. Grichuk said, I can do that from the same position on the field.
1 out, 1 on now for Eric Hosmer, who has doubled and scored tonight. You know, until Prince Fielder started to go crazy at Yankee Stadium this weekend, and he's homered in 2 straight games in that series for the Rangers. My thought, John, was that along with Miguel Cabrera, who's going to be a perennial all-star, that roster might only be able to afford one other first baseman that hits left-handed, and that would be Hosmer, if I'm the guy picking. But it's awfully tough to ignore what Prince Fielder's doing this year.
Yeah, Prince in a bounce back after his missing most of last year, surgery, neck surgery. It looks like great timing too for the Rangers. Have woke up and scoring a bunch of runs again.
Well, they whacked the Yankees in their own house today. Back-to-back lopsided wins for the Texas Rangers. 2 strikes, the count to Eric Hosmer. We got word on Mike Moustakas' injury, by the way. It is said to be a left clavicle contusion on this ball earlier tonight that checked up and got him.
Yeah, hits the skirt of the infield. You can see catches him right there at the neck line,
and hopefully Ned Yost can rest that that's a day-to-day situation and nothing serious for one of his most productive players. Hosmer lays off 2-2.
Great pitch. You see Yachty, though, way outside the strike zone, almost in the other batter's box, trying to entice that pitch over there. It's tough to get that call. You're not going to get that call from the umpire. See if they go down and in with a breaking ball, but they're going to go back outside with a fastball and try to freeze it.
Lined right to Carpenter. With 2 away, we check in with Ryan Field on the Angels and Red Sox. All right, Ryan, thanks. The Angels have had a lot of luck at Fenway of late. They've won 11 of the last 13 games they've played against the Red Sox in Boston. And dealing in a 2-2 tie tonight. Ryan will keep us posted. Here's Kendrys Morales now with 2 gone. Well, the Red Sox have been hard to figure this year.
That whole division, you're waiting for which team's going to wake up. Where's the real team? You know, Tampa is leading the division when not many people expected them to do much. The Angels, when are they going to run off a bunch of games like they did last year, let all the baseball and wins? Some teams just in kind of neutral.
The Red Sox loaded up too. The problem wasn't supposed to be the lack of runs. I mean, they loaded up the lineup. There were concerns about the rotation, but the fact that they're the lowest run scoring team in the AL East has a lot of people scratching their heads. And when you consider the money they paid for Hanley Ramirez and Pablo Sandoval, by the way, those 2 contracts, much more than the entire Kansas City Royals payroll this year.
Well, and I've always said, you know, when you're constructing a team, you're hoping that the moves you make are going to fit nicely. They have a plethora of outfielders, plethora of offense. To your point, they have not delivered consistently like they thought. The question mark was, do they have a bona fide number 1 or number 2? May not. Maybe a bunch of 3s, 4s, and 5s in their starting rotation.
2-1 to Morales into the opposite field for Matt Holliday to retire the side in the 5th. Leadoff single stranded. We played 5 complete. It's 3-2 Royals. The most rewarding SUV ever. And by Lowe's. Lowe's never stop improving. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on more than 400 devices with MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and more. Every night on every device. Visit MLB.TV for details. Edinson Volquez still working with his one-run lead, in part due to his ability to get out of a bases-loaded jam in the 5th with a double play ball, one that we'll take a closer look at this inning. Here's Randall Grichuk to lead things off in the 6th. Grichuk, Adams, and Molina.
Right about this time where you start thinking, if you're a Royal fan, you are quick to realize, man, if he gets one more inning, this game's pretty much over based on our bullpen that they can throw out there.
Yeah. Fly ball for Dyson in right. Let's get right to it. Let's take another look at that double play via StatCast.
Well, a big part of the game, bases loaded, of course, and Johnny Peralta up. He hits a ground ball to second. What you have to look for is this exchange and then the arm strength. 0.7 seconds when he gets the ball to when he goes to release it and then delivers it at 72.6. Plenty of time to get the double play ball. And a much needed one. As you can tell, Volquez was in a little bit of trouble and still holds a one-run lead. The point I want to make, though, from the standpoint of a formula which worked so well for the Royals last year, and the reason it worked so well is they won all their games, so they didn't have to. They had the days off built in. Their bullpen can go 7, 8, 9, in some cases 6, 7, 8, 9. The one thing to watch for with the departure of Shields and the starting rotation, they still have to pitch innings. You got to find somebody to pitch innings. You can't tax your bullpen constantly, even though they've added Madsen. Hochever's down there, and they've got some arms that can rush it up there 96 to 98 miles an hour. It works better if your starting rotation can get closer to 1,000 innings between the 5 guys.
That's the magic number, huh?
Well, it used to be. Now it's more like 800, 800 to 900, but 1,000 is hard to get because the 5th starter doesn't get as many starts. It just doesn't equate to 30-some starts. So you're looking for your front end guys to eat up as many innings as you can and then turn it over to that unbelievable bullpen, of which it's lights out past the 7th inning.
2 balls and a strike to Matt Adams. Out to left for Alex Gordon, and a couple of fly ball out start the 6th for Volquez. Well, to your point, the Royals are 18-2 when tied or leading going into the 6th, as we are tonight. And that number gets even better the later you get. They're 19-1 when tied or leading getting into the 7th. I think both of these teams have that in common, though, John. Both bullpens have been very good this year, the Royals in particular. But they both had to work a little harder in terms of innings than the ideal case scenario.
Yeah, the Royals entering tonight in the bottom tier, 27th in innings pitched out of their starters. So that's going to tax your bullpen. You can do it early, some built-in off days, but as the season progresses, you need those guys to lengthen the game.
On a couple of hops out to second for Omar Infante, and a very quick 1-2-3 6th for Edinson Volquez. Around 8 o'clock. Here we are about 8 o'clock local time, and as we come back from break, you can see what's happening. The Kauffman Stadium grounds crew is busy at work. We are in an official rain delay.
Tell you what, I've been in too many of these situations on the side of John Lackey, just hoping it's quick, hoping I can get back out there. But we talked about what was at stake in the couple innings where the Cardinals had a chance to tie the game up because of how the forecast laid out.
Well, as Ryan Field told us, the Red Sox and Angels are in action as we speak, and we're getting ready to send you to Fenway for that. Edinson Volquez likely done for the night, depending on how long this delay is. But you know, once the tarp comes on, it's at least a half an hour or so. So we'll be back with weather updates later. For now, we take you out to Boston for the Angels and Red Sox. Let's join Joe Buck, Harold Reynolds, and Tom Verducci and Ken Rosenthal at Fenway.